9 is the number of Kali. This is the year of closures. This is the year of, things collapsing. And we saw so much of that. And also, this is the Kali Yuga. So Kal is time. She who controls time. She who transcends time.
From a soul's perspective, how can we see through that lens of the mass destruction?
That your soul has taken birth here to go through this time so that you can burn all your past life karmas and create a future lineage.
What's that agenda of the dark organizations?
The war between light and darkness has been going on forever, whether people talk about it openly or not. Mental health is nothing but a dark attack. I don't think people are bipolar, etc. I think these people are beautifully right-brained and they have too much of energy. They just don't know how to channel it.
Our world is shifting faster than ever, and it's so easy to feel small in the middle of all of this. Imagine being part of a movement, a tribe that is not just talking about the change, but actually living it. That's why I created The Deep Dive, a living spiritual ecosystem where every single day we go on a journey to remembering our most authentic self. Our members have joined from all walks of their awakening, and it's been such a blessing to witness all of the soul relationships that are already forming. As a community, we start every day with simple, powerful activities, and we're beginning to start envisioning the kind of world that we want to experience. This is way more than exclusive content or just another spiritual Netflix. This is about integration and leaving behind a legacy. If you're ready to move beyond knowing into becoming, then visit the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen right now to learn more. I'd be honored to co-create history with you.
Yeah, I'll just invoke Lord Ganesha with a mantra and then we can begin. Yeah. So Lord Ganesha is the harbinger of, new beginnings, and he's the destroyer of all the obstacles. So whenever we enter a new space, energetically, physically, mentally, we call upon him with this, powerful shloka. Shri Vakratund Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. Oh.
Wow, what a beautiful voice. And with that said, Dr. Manmit Kumarr, welcome on Just Tap In. What are you most excited about right now globally and in your life?
Globally, I'm most excited about the Earth's ascension into the fifth dimension. And I think we are very fortunate to be witnessing it and being a part of this whole change. And in my own space, I'm so excited that the barriers between the corporate world and the real world are breaking down. And everybody is wanting to remember who they are at a soul level.
I would love if you could take us back for a moment when you remembered who you were at a soul level, because I know that for you, it came at a very early age. By the age of 3, you were already remembering your past lives. What did it mean to you to remember your soul from such an early time in your life?
When I was very young, I was unafraid. And as I approached my teenage years and I realized that what I was remembering was not part of this fabric of the society that I was living in, it was a bit confusing. And then it was a little daunting as I grew up, because I couldn't really trust anyone with this information. And it took me into a completely materialistic world, chasing goals, living the so-called normal life. But if you speak about how it felt as a child, it felt like I had never left my past life. It just felt like from a woman's body, because in my just last life, I was a woman in a Muslim country, and both my children were shot dead in front of me at gunpoint. And it just felt that from that, I had become this 3-year-old child. So vivid past life recollections and dreams made me feel that, of course, made me feel safe in this house. But I kept missing my children. And I just, so it was a bit of, my mother thought it was an imaginary fairy tale thing that I was remembering, or I'd seen a movie or read a storybook or something like that. I can tell you very safely and confidently that today people will not think that if their children have these ideas and, if they have these memories, these sacred memories. So it was interesting. And then I consciously forgot about it conveniently and started living the life that was normal and, deemed to be okay, till I had a near-death experience that broke me open again and told me that you've forgotten why you're here. So let's go back to why you're here. So it's been a journey, and now I help people remember who they are at a soul level.
Wow. I can't imagine having these memories that aren't yours or coming from this fabric of reality. And one thing that's interesting, that's a parallel there, is that you were a mother in your last life. You are a mother in this life. And something very strongly has come through for you around the Divine Mother, as it relates to the ascension that the earth is going through. Where do you see and witness that connection? And maybe how did that connection to the Divine Mother heal some of the things that you were going through from other lifetimes that were still coming up in this one?
Wonderful question. Actually, 2 or 3 questions in the same question. So
it was a multi-dimensional one.
Absolutely. And we live in a multiverse, don't we? So the Divine Mother connection came through even in this life. Even in that life, I was a single parent. Even in this life, I'm a single parent. And I think what was left unfinished in that life is going to come through in this life. And I can see the similarities through my Akashic records and the Akashic records of my children. The Divine Mother in this era, Emilio, very interestingly, the whole last century has been built on the Divine Masculine. And it has been built on patriarchy, the not so great traits of the Divine Masculine, which are, aggression, control, and, but somewhere a little bit of abuse and violence, terror, and they rule through fear. So the collective consciousness of the world has become locked, literally. And it took COVID to sort of, open up our hearts to say that we are not a class and a creed and a color or a gender. We are actually all one. And you saw that it brought everybody across the globe down on their knees, And now in this era of 2000, from 2020 to 2032, this is the era of the Divine Feminine, where we need the feminine sacred codes of the Divine Feminine Mother. In the Hindu mythology, there are, we call it the one Divine Mother, and then we have 3 elements to it: Kali, Lakshmi, and Durga. And so we say that, these are the codes that the world needs, because we need to break those existing patriarchal control-based structures, whether it is financial structures, whether it is, political structures, whether they are structures in which we are educating our children or running our businesses, for example. You would see businesses only running for profit. And when people come to me saying that, we want to do something different and, things are just not happening for us and we've done everything, I ask them a simple question. How much is your business contributing to the world? What is the soul of your business? So businesses that don't have a soul will not, sorry to say, go beyond 2032. So the Divine Mother, the Divine Feminine concept is very important in these years, in this decade, because this is the decade of crashing, integrating, and then going up and building a new world. And not everyone is going to survive it, nor are people going to survive it who don't belong to the change mindset. Businesses that do not want to change will not survive it. Education systems will not survive it. Financial systems will not survive it. Currencies, banks, everything, unless they become soul driven, they are not going to survive in after this decade. They will not. So that's the connection of the Divine Mother.
And I know that in Vedic traditions, Kali Ma is known as the dark feminine. And one thing that I've heard you say before was that Earth has to evolve through darkness, which is why the darkness is reaching its peak in these next 4 years. There we can start talking about also this bypassing of there is no dark energy, right? And we don't want to acknowledge that it's there. But bringing in Kali into the conversation for a moment, if we could, how do you see that that's the way that Earth itself or herself will evolve through facing and confronting the darker aspects of itself and of humanity at large?
It's a beautiful question, Emilio. But before I answer that, I just want to tell you that in 2023, I was in an interview like this with somebody who was using spiritual bypassing. You know, this whole thing of love and light, love and light. There is no darkness. We have transcended beyond it and we've evolved. Actually refused to do a podcast with me because he says your work reflects the darkness, which I do not believe there is. And I could not believe it. I said, are you saying that there's no darkness in the world? He said, no. It's the way you look at it and there is no darkness. And that is the first time I hit spiritual bypassing literally in its face. So people who think that there's no darkness, everything has an underbelly. A club, a city, a country, the systems, they all have an underbelly. And today, unfortunately, that underbelly is totally exposed. We are living in the dark times because our heart chakras are completely closed. There is no compassion. There is only greed. There is no accountability. There is only profits that people are looking at. So the whole structure has become dark from a soul perspective. I'm sure the audience has heard of the word dark night of the soul. And that's where, the transition begins from. So for the earth, this is a time, look at the wars, look at the climatic changes, everything that is living on this planet is mirroring the fact that we are going through a transition. And, it's really the darkest before the dawn. It's like the earth is going through a labor pain to deliver a new child, so to speak. And we are in that age. And I firmly and truly and sincerely believe that Kali is the goddess that can take us out of this space simply for the reason that she is the most fearless energy. She is not a mother. She is not a nurturer. She'll do that later. But first, she's going to break the shackles that are binding us as a country, as a human being, as a family, as a society, as the world. So everything that is dark and needs a change into soul consciousness will be broken down by Kali. We started from COVID, right? And it's just going. If you see the financial institutions, countries being under debt, people talking about, gold, silver, and cryptocurrency holding, people almost, countries at ransom. What's happening? Everything is collapsing, and Kali is all about transformation. She says, okay, let's break it down first and let's rebuild it again. So when anything breaks down, it's scary because we are losing the familiar. It is uncertain. So people are not sure how they're going to cope up with things. But that's what the earth is going through right now. And therefore, Kali and Kali's tools are going to be extremely powerful in bringing the fearlessness in our lives and bringing us to a spiritually sufficient person. We don't need to go after people to tell us, oh, please tell me my future. No, I can build my future. Leave me alone and I'll build an empire from the scratch. That's the confidence we need to have. That's the confidence that Kali gives you. So I do believe that Kali's role is essential in the next 4 years to the whole world, not just in India, but across countries. People are talking about Kali and the way and embodying the Kali consciousness. We've all heard of Krishna consciousness, but this is the age of Kali consciousness. where we all need to become the Kali in our lives and the lives of our children to break not just what's happening around us, but also break the curses that we are carrying from past lives. What we call burning of the karma. But yeah, it takes courage for sure.
So right now there's currently a earthquake simulation going on. There's a bunch of alarms here, but we're good. We're not gonna be in fear about it. But I wanted to ask you, as we were talking about Kali, you did have what you guys call a Darshan, a sighting of Kali. Can you walk us through what that experience was like, and maybe what she personally taught you in that encounter, in that exchange?
So I had a vision of Kali in one of my dreams, and in the Hindu mythology, Kali is supposed to be very, she's supposed to be feared, and people say that if you go wrong in how you pray to her, things could really go bad. So when I saw her in my dreams for the first time and I met her, she said that you need to hold this sacred space called the Kali Darbar, which means that people will come and I will come and bless them. And for the life of me, I couldn't understand, how will she come? How will they come? They will not come because of me, because I was not well known at all at that time. And how will she come? So it was from a basic standpoint, very tough to imagine. And she gave me clear instructions. You have this group. There are 306 members in it. You put it out there. It will happen tomorrow. I said, what if no one turns up? She says, don't worry. If no one turns up, that's fine. So, Emilio, you cannot believe, because that was the time of Diwali, exactly the time that is now. And there is a Kali Pujan, means like a prayer to Kali on one of those days. And I didn't even have a picture of her. So she says, I'll come to your house. I said, I don't want you to come. She said, I'll come to your house. You don't worry. I still have the picture with me and I will share it with you. My driver of 20 years at that time walked into the house in the morning. We were all having breakfast. And he said, I was coming from my home and see what I got for you. And it was a large painting of Kali. And I could not believe it. I said, who told you? What gave you the idea? And he says, I don't know, but I hope you like it, because I'm not taking it back. And I've had it ever since. This was in 2019. And 2017. He placed it there and she came. And so I said, okay, now that she's come, let me put the message. Nobody knew me, Emilio. Nobody knew. And I also didn't know what to do with her. And 104 people lined up within 2 hours, believing that she's going to come to my house. And let me tell you what happened. We were all sitting. Now, I don't know what to do because I don't know what to do. And I was fervently praying in my heart, saying, what am I going to tell these people? I'm not a healer. I don't know what to do. She said, don't worry. Don't worry. Suddenly, so many people sitting inside the house and lots of people lined up. I was in an apartment near the elevator. A lot of people lined up. The door opens on its own. And I have people who will tell you that they were there in the room. Opens, we feel a presence. And after 30 seconds, the door shuts. And she actually enters. And from there, I don't remember much, because she closed my eyes. And then people tell me later that with my eyes closed, when they put their hand in my hand, I was able to tell them their future. With eyes closed, not knowing who those people were. And so Kali Darbar, which is a, sort of gathering of people to meet Kali, has been going on for the last 9 years now. And again, this year it's going to happen in December. Now, what did she tell me? She told me that spiritual bypassing is not allowed. Please, can you pick up all the things that you need to heal in your own self and help people to see their dark side? So sometimes I tell people, I said, I don't like my job because I have to tell you the truth, and the truth ain't pretty. The sad part, Emilio, is that when people come to you, they feel that you are going to either speak what they want to hear, or you are going to change their destiny for them. But none of that happens with Kali. Kali says, okay, these are your wounds. Let's look at them nicely and please go sort it out. But 90% of the times, we don't want to look at what we don't like. We only want to look at love and light. We only want to look at the bright things of life. We want to put good pictures. We want to, just the good things. But that's not Kali. Kali is raw. Kali is naked truth. Kali is the dark night of the soul. Kali says, go face your fears. You don't like when Kali comes into your life. She brings chaos. She brings the people who were your exes. She brings the people who you sort of put under the mattress, the carpet. They'll all come like, oh, remember me? So it's not easy. It's a very tough journey with Kali. It's the toughest goddess that we have. And so, Emilio, when Kali enters your life, you can be sure of two things. One, your life is never going to be the same. And two, oh, you are on a fast spiritual path. Fast. So the Kundalini energy that we spoke about before the podcast is Kali, coiled around your Muladhara chakra like a snake, and she rises. So that is the Kundalini experience. It is the Kali. And Kali controls your root chakra. That's where it all starts from, because the root chakra holds your desires, holds all your greed, your addiction to food. So Kali kills all of that. That's what we need.
One thing that's really interesting there is that we are in a 9-year, and I've heard you say it also is the year of Kali 2025. So could we say that going forward, this energy of Kali is going to be a lot more present on a collective scale for us to be able to accelerate into these new beginnings?
100%. 9 is the number of Kali. This is the year of closures. This is the year of, things collapsing. And we saw so much of that. And also, this is the Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga. So Kal is time. She who controls time. She who transcends time. And what is time? Time is about control. Time is about time, space, matter, your matrix, so to speak. So Kali is the slayer of the matrix. And yes, this being the most tough year, I think from 2026, new beginnings, things will start to reintegrate. But I'm again telling you, only the people who are willing to destroy what no longer serves them are going to survive the next 4 years. And I can give it to you in writing, whether it's organizations, countries, financial institutions, people, families, entrepreneurs, whoever, unless they are willing to go through the dark night of the soul, look at fear like this in the eye and say, I don't care. I'm going to rise no matter what. Those are the only people who are going to go through. There's going to be a destruction at a mass level. People are going to die at mass level because everyone is not willing to go through this change.
From a soul's perspective, how can we see through that lens of the mass destruction, what it really means in a sense of where humanity is headed, instead of, maybe hearing that someone might be a little in fear, and that's something that we want to avoid, but how can we see it from a higher perspective?
That your soul has taken birth here to go through this time so that you can burn all your past life karmas and create a future lineage of people who are free from the bondages that you are not free from. So, for example, there's a couple who is dealing with generational trauma, for example, of children who have special needs or who are going through a health-related crisis that their families have seen. Now, if they decide that, okay, fine, great, the world is turning, and if we turn with them, we are going to enter a new era. So why don't we let go of, for example, judgment? It doesn't matter if people are judging us, it's fine. We are just going to be authentic. For example, let me tell you that mental health is going to be a very big issue coming forward. Now, there are a lot of people, at least in India, who don't want to tell other people that their children have mental health issues, either bipolar, schizophrenia, depression, whatever. If these families can let go of that fear, embrace the energy of Kali to say it is what it is, and there is no shame in mental health, and no, it's not our fault that our children have, mental health issues, then they would have broken their prarabdha karma which is their past life karma, and they are ready to ascend into a new life. Now, what will happen to their children and the children from their children? They are going to live in a very free world. So the way people have to understand, and not mass destruction means people are going to die, but the fear consciousness is going to die. So it's better before life happens to you. Why don't we decide today that we are going to let go of fear? And what is the biggest fear today? The fear of judgment, the fear of being ridiculed, the fear of isolation. If I don't conform to this, I will be left alone. Loneliness is the new pandemic. So don't be afraid to be lonely. It's okay. You're not going to be lonely. Test it out. Be authentic, because the world is moving towards a more authentic, consciousness. So this is the way they can look at it from a soul perspective, and they can also have their children do very, very well going forward. It's really up to us.
I've also heard you speak on that there are many multiple parallel versions of ourself. If we're doing the work, we are confronting our fears, we're overcoming them. What is going on with the other parallel versions of us? And are we influencing them as well so that they can also have an ascension journey? Because maybe we're all connected in some way. I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
This is one of the most beautiful questions anybody has ever asked me. Thank you for asking that. Because yes, we are 7 versions of us living, and each version is sort of intuitively connected to the other version. A lot of times you're sitting like this and you have a jerk, or you suddenly feel very, panicky. It's because it's happening somewhere else. Or you just feel that something's going to happen, but nothing happens. And you wonder, I had that feeling it was really real. So what's going on? Something's happening somewhere else. And you may even see it in your dreams. So yes, the work that we are doing here. See, Emilio, we have a personal consciousness. We have a family consciousness. We have a societal consciousness. And then we have a global consciousness. And then we have a universal consciousness. So when we do a work, it's just not us. It's our lineage behind us, the ancestors that are set free. It's the lineage after us that is born without this thing. It's the other versions of ourselves in other universes that also get impacted. So yes. And you know what? Let me just say this for the benefit of the people. People think the work is a verb. It's something that you do. And I want to tell them that no, it's here also. Sometimes it's you mentally talking to yourself and saying, I'm not going to get defeated. No matter what, I will stand up. That itself, that thought itself, that decision itself can affect 2 lakh people around you as a collective thought. So if I'm thinking like this, then people around me are like, aha, I don't need to be so scared. So when we say the work, many people think, oh, we are not healers. We don't know how to do the work. We don't have the time to do the work. The work is not a verb. It's not a doing thing. It's not an action. It's sometimes just a decision that we make saying, I'm not going to get defeated. Let me see what can, what is the worst that can happen. So that itself is powerful enough.
And that's a really strong mindset, because I've also heard you say that in this Kali Yuga, the Divine Mother is the easiest it's ever been to access. However, human beings are at their weakest and most distracted state in this era of the big cycle, right? In the Kali Yuga. And that's the paradox in and of itself. Like, we can access the Divine Mother easier, but the seeker or the human is less prepared. So how can you also inspire us to find a way to get beyond those distracted states that we're in, or maybe because consciousness is at a level that's in that Kali Yuga, what would you advise in that aspect?
The simplest thing that I would say is that the reason why people feel that they are very weak and the consciousness is there and they are here is because they think that there is a way, there is a way to approach the consciousness, the Divine Mother. But the Divine Mother is inside of us because we are a part of this. No, if we say that the universe was created with the Big Bang, then guess what? The same element is there in all of us. And no, there is no elaborate ritual to reach her. She's already inside. We just have to remember who we are. So when people come to me to heal, I just tell them, you know it. You just need to remember who you are and where she is. The veil has been the thinnest in the last 1 year than it has ever been. She is present and available, and we don't need to do elongated rituals to reach her. So if we tell the modern seeker that help is available without anything complicated, then people will believe. And I do believe that the astrologers and the psychics need to play a very big role in this, because instead of creating fear with every reading, oh, you're never going to get married. Oh, I don't see, why? Why can we not tell people that your birth chart is only a part of the plan of the destiny and the rest is all manifestation? That 70% of your life is how you decide that you can do it. If every astrologer who's listening to this podcast was to create hope and faith instead of fear and restrictions, trust me, it'll just take about a year or 2 years that the, consciousness of the world will turn towards hope.
Another thing that is interesting there is that I know gurus are very prevalent from where you're from. And also that concept of the guru has become more globalized. But you're also saying that today's guru must look different because today's life looks very different than in the past. So what do you feel defines that new guru or spiritual teacher as we head into the next coming years, especially in the next 4 years, as you're saying, is such a period of mass upheaval and change and acceleration? What is the role of the spiritual guru?
The guru must be able to simplify his student's life, be able to understand his limitations. It is not the era of people shaving their heads and going to the Himalayas and renouncing life. I firmly believe that most of us have been born in a fabric where we need to have responsibilities, children, bills to pay, households to take care of, especially if you're a woman, even if you're a man. And gurus must be able to understand that and tell people that Kali or any other deity does not need elaborate rituals to be reaching there. Now, were the elaborate rituals not part of our Vedas and Upanishads? Yes, they were. But the life then was different, different yugas. You had the different yugas that have come forward. Every yuga had its own set of, rules. In one yuga, mantras were, most prevalent. That was the way to reach the deity. In another one, yantras were. In another one, havans were a way to do it. And then I want to bring this little, story to you. Lord Shiva, who is supposed to be the, writer of Tantra, the author of Tantra, was once waiting very patiently for his meal while his wife, Goddess Parvati, was reciting the Vishnu Sahasranam, which is the elongated prayer to Lord Vishnu. In the fastest form that I do it, it takes about 35 minutes every day. And of course, the way they must have done it would have taken an hour and a half. So he kept waiting for the food. And when she came, he said, I was so hungry. So she says, what could I do? I was, chanting the Vishnu Sahasranam and I do it every day. So he said, what do you think people are going to do in the modern times when they'll not have this kind of time? What is going to happen? She says, I don't know. So he said that I'm going to bring it down to just 3 sentences. And he said, Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane. If you say this 3 times, you have the entire essence of the Vishnu Sahasranam. So, different ages, different stages have different rules. So not to say that any of that was wrong in that age and stage, but in today's age and stage, people have limited time, limited focus, limited resources, and limited bandwidth. The powerful guru in today's time is somebody who can connect the ancient wisdom with the modern seeker in such a way that it is built more on intention. In Hindi, they call it bhav. That it's intention based rather than ritual based. Otherwise, if you do a ritualistic prayer, it may take you 3.5 hours. Trust me, most people don't have that kind of time. So people must lead people through intention more and through hope and faith more, and not put too many restrictions on them. The second thing that the guru must do is not to put the fear. God is not a person, Emilio, sitting somewhere wanting to punish you, waiting for an opportunity that Emilio is not going to do 2 hours of prayer. Here's the punishment. It doesn't work like that, right? So someone has to tell people that God is a consciousness. It's an energy. It's a frequency. It's a radio signal that you can tune into even without fear and without all the rituals. You can access it. It's okay. God wants to bless you. You just need to leave your fears and limitations. The face of the guru has changed. So the guru must not look fearsome, must look ordinary, must be somebody who can relate and who people can relate to.
What is it that you feel is the most important aspect of the ancient Indian traditions to preserve in the new age? Like, what do we still hold on to as the essence of those teachings and bring them forward in a new light?
That every deity has a specific frequency and has a specific path. For example, Shakti has a different path of the divine feminine. Shaivism has a different path. Krishna consciousness has a different path. And depending on your life lessons of this life, you need to integrate your Akashic records to find out which path is the best for you and follow that path. Now, what is the most important part that needs to be preserved? The authenticity of it. Before the priests came in, women were equally empowered to perform rituals. And, then the society took over and the caste system came and all of that. So we're not going there. But originally, goddesses and gods were viewed not so much with reverence as with fascination and something that people could learn from. So, Lord Vishnu took so many avatars in the human form as Lord Ram, as Lord Krishna, to tell people that even God can have a normal life. So spirituality is not out there, it's here. So I would say spirituality is daily life. That's what our gods told us, and that's who we need to become. So it's about becoming it, embodying it, rather than looking at them here and looking at us here. This whole thing of you are there, you are superior. No. Gods are saying, look, we have taken human forms. Come learn from us. So that is the beauty of the Hindu religion, that it can inspire you to lead a good life on a day-to-day basis with a 5D consciousness.
What do you foresee will be the role of the avatar in the coming years?
Which avatar?
I don't know. Is there a walking avatar? Are there many at this time? How do you sort of understand that?
I think avatars are who people become. And we talk about the Kaliki avatar that is supposed to be coming in at the end of the Kali Yuga, not happening anytime soon. Because when I channeled my spirit guides and I channeled Lord Krishna, he said, why don't you all first, show me what you've learned before you want me to come. So, Emilio, this whole concept of God will save us is not really true. God will empower us so that we can save ourselves. And so I believe a lot in spiritual sufficiency. And I believe that's the need of the hour. Everyone should feel sufficient to handle their own emotions, to be able to be more conscious. And if someone can teach that, that is the biggest avatar that can happen.
I've also heard you say that by 2029, we're going to start building more of a soul conscious society. What does that mean to you? How does that look like when you tune into the records, or when you see in your psychic vision? What does a soul conscious society feel and look like in your perspective?
Technology that is driven by conscious values, humans not competing with technology and leaving technology to do the practical and logical things, and going within themselves to know who they are, expanding their own spiritual quotient, leaving the mental quotient to AI, and definitely building more conscious AI. So it looks like an integrative society where AI is doing the work that humans were busy doing, and humans do the work of the soul, get connected to the source, and become more elevated. So the learning structures will change. The education system will change. We are not going to burden our children so much with only academics. We are going to go much deeper into meditation, classes on life coaching, classes on understanding who we are. So as a society, we will evolve towards a spiritual quotient, and we will have AI as our help around, technology being more conscious. That's what I see. And the biggest block that I see in all of this is the dark organizations that are trying very hard that this doesn't happen.
What's that agenda of the dark organizations?
The earth is too slow and is moving too fast towards light. So let's just kill it. Let's shorten the time span. You would have heard that now people are saying that, I sleep for 5 hours. But it looks like 3 hours to me. Time is ticking faster. The clocks are ticking faster. We have all heard of it. And it is somewhere a fabric of the matrix and the dark agencies that are at it. So the dark web, etc. Look, the war between light and darkness has been going on forever, whether people talk about it openly or not. Mental health is nothing but a dark attack. I don't think people are bipolar, etc. I think these people are beautifully right-brained, and they have too much of energy. They just don't know how to channel it. And it's taken advantage of by these dark organizations. But having said that, I still have a very positive outlook, and I feel that the light will win, like the hero wins in the end. And I think that the end is not so, it's not very far. So I think the society will be far more conscious, far more aware. Human beings will move towards soul consciousness. Education systems will become different. Financial systems will become different. I believe that organizations will have a spiritual mission and vision statement. I feel that anything that doesn't have a give back to the society will not really thrive.
When we talk about this battle of the light and the dark, when you talk about a 5D consciousness or moving into this new octave, where does the quotient between light and dark stand? Because what I have learned is that in the third dimension, there are equal amounts of light and equal amounts of dark. And that's what's needed for this matrix or realm to function. When we move up an octave, what happens to that balance or the yin yang of the light and the dark?
Oh, it stays. It stays. The point is not how much darkness there is. The point is how much darkness are we gravitating towards? Human beings are the dynamic factor, you see. Let the light and the darkness be like two buildings on a road. The human being has a free will which building to enter. So creating a conscious society, creating conscious AI systems, I hope and pray that organizations that are responsible for building these systems will continue to be driven by the darkness and will have their own consciousness stopping them from doing things that are not so good for the society. I do believe that they will have good human values, and I believe that they'll be directed by the light. So it's not about how much of darkness there is. It's about how much will we choose to gravitate towards the darkness.
You were recently invited to a panel in Bhutan where the question was, is AI conscious? And there were tech pioneers, innovators, psychics like yourself on that panel. What was sort of the consensus around that conversation?
So I had with me Professor Federico Fagins, who's the inventor of the first Intel microprocessor chip. I had Professor Anil Seth, who's a neuroscientist in Britain. And then, of course, there was me and, the person who was moderating it. And the question was, will AI ever become conscious, or is AI conscious? And my view is that consciousness is not a term we can use for personal consciousness. So their view was that if we are sedated or if we lose consciousness, so consciousness from that perspective. For me, from a Vedic perspective, consciousness is an all-pervading phenomena on which space, time, and matter is based. So I did say that consciousness is a stage like Shiva on which Shakti can create things. So the world, our thoughts, manifestations, everything is created on the plane of consciousness, that it's Chaitanya, it's the all pervading. So I told them that, I feel that consciousness is a noun and it's not a verb. So you could say that, yes, a person losing consciousness is a factor of your brain as well, right? That your brain cannot record any activity when you're unconscious, etc., for example. But no, for me, consciousness is like all pervading. It is present across organisms. It is present across living and dead matter. And all of that actually is based on the stage of consciousness. All of life itself, as we know it, is based on consciousness. So can AI ever become conscious as conscious? No. Can it simulate intelligence? Yes. But intelligence and consciousness are not the same.
Was there any disagreement in that?
Oh, yeah.
With the...
Oh, yes.
It got fiery.
It was fiery. It was... And, scientists can go into explaining it and you will suddenly lose the thread. They spoke about electromagnetic fields and they spoke about a lot of stuff. And I stuck with the spiritual sense that we have from our Vedas and Upanishads, that consciousness is all pervading. And Emilio, because I had that near-death experience, nothing can convince me that consciousness is not everywhere. We have a choice in life and death. So when I left my body, trust me, it completely changed me as a person. And you see the light, you see people say we saw a white light. I never saw a white light. I saw a field of consciousness, like a field of energy. That's the closest I can describe. And then like big doors to a big conference hall open. I could hear those voices, like a different world had opened for me. And none of that was real, but all of that was conscious. So, when people say, oh, it's the other world, someone's died and gone to the other world, no one's gone to another world. It's just another plane of consciousness. So consciousness is everywhere. It just has different planes and different worlds interact with each other through the fabric of consciousness. How can we ever lose it?
I love that you brought up the relationship between Shakti and Shiva. I feel like that is maybe a story or an archetype that the Western world still hasn't fully understood. And I'd love to give you the space to explain that in your words, because you mentioned that Shakti being that creative force, and then the Shiva is the floor, the platform from which it builds upon. What is Shakti wanting to create right now in this floor of consciousness that we're currently in?
So, Shakti is a creation at every level. It's a creation at the physical level, at the emotional level. You and I having this conversation, we are creating something for the world to watch so that it may evolve. And so there is a creation. So anywhere there's a creation, your manifestation is Shakti. Your channeling is Shakti. Your talking, all your exchange of information, verbal, non-verbal, conscious, unconscious, going into different portals, going into different dimensions, sleep, lucid dreaming, astral travel, all of that, any movement is Shakti. And Shiva is the conscious, silent observer who's observing everything. So if you go into Shiva consciousness, you will learn, the first thing you will learn is how to be an observer and not a participant. Shakti is the participant. Shakti is whether it's a silent participation or it's an active participation. What is Shakti trying to create today? Shakti does not come with a plan to create anything. But I think what is being created through her grace is a pathway for people to heal and look at tools in today's day and age where things look very uncertain. People are losing their jobs. People suddenly have this fear, that AI will replace us or God knows what's going to happen. So many climatic changes are happening. There's a fear. She's creating, I've seen firsthand, she's creating more and more channels of hope and faith. She's saying, become sufficient. You don't need anybody else. You become sufficient on your own and do your thing. So I see her creating this expanded consciousness inside all of us. People are leaving their jobs and becoming light workers. People who are bakers, bankers, lyricists, filmmakers are all suddenly, going on the path of discovering themselves. How?
And why?
Because darkness is really attacking us. So in this whole landscape of light and darkness we see very quickly, we see wars, we see all these attacks. But light is so subtle that we don't notice it. But all these people leaving and going on their soul exploration is adding these people into the camp of light rather than the camp of darkness. So I do believe that that's what Shakti is creating.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to also understanding the creation of this universe, you've said that one thing that psychics have mastered is to differentiate between the voice of the mind and the voice of the universe. When you started that journey and mastering it in your path, what are the subtleties between the voice of the mind and the voice of the universe so that we know what messages we're getting and what we're receiving in this expression?
If you're really gifted, you will have your spirit guides talk to you in a different sort of a tone, which you will recognize. But I now realize that sometimes that's also masked and you can have entities speaking in those voices. I think the biggest way to figure this out is the fabric of the message. If the message is towards a greater understanding, it's the voice of the angels. Secondly, the voice of the angels is never going to give you a very long descriptive way to get you out of a mess. It's not going to do that. It's going to leave that to you because we all have free will and guides don't interfere in free will. So they will tell you what is right and how do you need to look at the situation rather than solving it. Like, for example, if someone says, I don't want to work in this company anymore and please, can you tell me when should I put in my papers? If you're getting an answer on when you should put in your papers, it's not the guides. The guides don't work so much with time-space reality. Definitely not so much with money reality. So it's your mind trying to act as a, as a guide. So they will not give you detailed answers. They will tell you that you should do it and you'll be better off doing it. Third difference is that guides speak in short sentences or sometimes even in words. They don't go on and on with a narrative.
They're not very yappy. They're not very chatty.
Not very yappy. Much as we want them to be. So in my earlier days, I used to just sit with the pen saying, I'm ready. And all I would hear is, go ahead. And I said, what nonsense. I'm channeling the wrong guides. And I said, can I have more talkative guides, please? And they said, well, so no, in my view, that's the thing. And the other thing is that if they're telling you that you are right and others are wrong, I've heard a lot of people saying that we channeled and the guide said, leave these toxic people. In the eyes of the guides, there are no toxic people, right? There are situations that you need to solve. They'll tell you, oh, this is your lesson. They'll never say this is a toxic person. So that's your ego. So I talk about it in my automatic writing course.
Go ahead.
But very interesting that you asked this question.
Yeah, one thing that I gathered from that was, if they're not working in time-space reality, how do you deal with psychic predictions that use like time markers? What is that about, in the sense of receiving from the guides and making like very fixed marker predictions? Because they're everywhere right now on YouTube. Especially on this channel.
Many people work with earth guides, Emilio. Earth guides are people who have walked the earth, so they understand the time, space, money, boss, relationship, and, many more things. So they use the team of guides that they use is the earth guides. Secondly, guides will only show you, things that will affect the humanity, for example, so that you could spread the word and sort of move forward with it. Many people make predictions with astrology charts, but perhaps don't discuss it. But guides will never go on and on about, they will tell you. So when I do a future reading, I don't do this is how it's going to happen. I tell them that, if you do this, so I link it to a soul lesson, and I link it to the Akashic records, that in your previous life, you were not able to learn this, and therefore this person's manifested into your life. And so this is how you need to look at the relationship, rather than saying, leave him on 1st January 2026. No, that's not how it is. And it should not be, because you cannot interfere in anybody's karma and free will. So the decision making should always be theirs. No, I don't think that's, but yeah, people use earth guides and they use astrology charts.
What have been those messages that your guides have really honed in for you around helping humanity moving forward in what's to come? Because what it almost feels like in this conversation is that there are going to be some massive changes coming. And I'm really curious to know what messages you have received from your guides around that and how to navigate those.
So the first message I received when I started doing this work was to create 5 million light workers. And they said, create teachers. And therefore I started teaching. I said, I'm not going to handle one-on-one cases. Let me start from wherever I've got the thing. Let me start, hammering at the rock. And I started creating teacher training programs, and everybody that I train will touch thousands of lives. So that's one way of doing it. The second way that, the guide said to work is through the Kali consciousness, that empower people with tools that they can handle, simple tools to handle fear, simple tools to handle, conflicts, that people need to stay together rather than, escape their karmic relationships. So I keep telling people, don't divorce, don't move away, because, whatever you're moving away from will come. So Kali Code is one of the big platforms that has been launched this year only for, the collective consciousness. And I think that training and moving forward as teachers is one of the ways. My guides are very confident that humanity is at its brightest opportunity to evolve. And they are so excited to see this change. We may not be, but they are very excited to see, wow, now we've created the stage. Now, like little children, come on, jump into the hoop, come on, do it. And my job is to tell them, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. So that's how it is, through faith, through hope, and through optimism.
Yeah. And that, in other words, is called being a way shower. So thank you for going first in that aspect, because I know that you faced a lot of your own darkness and got out on the other side to teach people. I know your platform is called Soul Miracles, and I wanted to ask you, what has been the latest, greatest soul miracle that you've experienced in your life?
Emilio, I have had literal visions of Ma, of different forms of Shakti. And I simply cannot explain it in any words, even if I had a bigger vocabulary than what I have now. that what it feels like. It has been the biggest blessing, not just of this life, but I think of all the lives that I have led. It is a divine experience, and it seems like 1,000 suns shine at the same time. And it's so powerful that each cell of your body is resonating literally at that point in time. And it's not happened with me once, it's happened with me 4 or 5 times. So I think this is the biggest, miracle that I have ever experienced, that maybe it's a miracle that I've experienced after thousands of births. And I didn't have to do any elaborate sadhana for it. Therefore, I'm a firm believer that when the grace has to come, maybe I've done the work in my previous lives, I have no doubt. And maybe this was the result of it. But it is the most beautiful feeling. And I think everyone who's on this path must aspire for it.
In those visions that you're talking about, the way that you're describing them, it feels like they're a lot more real than even like the external world for you. Like the internal experience has become a lot more real in those visions.
But Emilio, it was not a vision. It was actually it was a dream, but my whole body, my whole being was participative. I could feel her touching me. But I knew that I was sleeping. I can't explain. I was sleeping, but I was not sleeping. I was completely awake. And I could feel her touching me. She gave me the messages. I went and did that. And it came out to be true. I don't know. It just sounds like, I've had something to ingest and I'm speaking all of this. But it's...
What did you drink before bed? No.
But it's actually true. It's you have to experience it to believe it. And if I was to die today, I would be okay.
I know exactly what you mean. And Dr. Manmit, we end every show with a segment called the Final Trio. These are just some questions that we ask at the very end. Before that, where would you send people to connect with you, the work that you're doing, how to work more closely with you as they're resonating with you? Where would you send people to do that?
To my website. And everything is there. And I would urge people to take a workshop rather than a session and learn how to be a psychic, how to be a medium, how to read other people's Akashic records and be a teacher. Please be a teacher. Please be a teacher.
Beautiful. And for these final trio questions, the first two are personalized to the guest and the last one we ask at the end of every show. So the first one I had for you is, what is the one ancient Indian teaching or realization that you wish every seeker would stop searching for and start embodying today?
It is called Aham Brahmasmi. I am the universe. And if we were all to just believe that, make that our, screensaver, we would remind ourselves of the greatness that we all have inside of us. And if I'm the universe, then I don't lack anything. And if I'm the universe, then everything is within me. And then everything, there's no desire. Everything is fulfilled. And then there is only giving.
If this was your final incarnation, what would you have cherished the most about the human experience?
The multiple times that I died in this life because of the relationships and the pain that I had to go through, I would invite it again and I would really cherish it because it's through that pain that I could find myself again.
Sometimes we have to go through those initiations to find the other side of what that is, which is mostly magic, right? On the other side of pain. On the other side of forgetting is bliss. That's the paradox of being human. So thank you for reassuring that message. This last question we ask at the end of every show is called the time capsule question. And it really has to do a lot about your legacy, what you're here to leave behind on earth. And think of the children, the young generations of today, And in a few years down the line, a few decades down the line, they will step up to become the leaders of the new earth, the golden age, all these, prophecies that have been told to us about the new era, about the era of more consciousness. And they're in the perfect positions to be able to lead humanity. However, you had the opportunity to leave behind just something that you feel would guide them and show them more of the path that you've walked and that might work for them as well. And you could leave that in the form of a time capsule, something that they would open down the line and when they're ready. You could leave anything from something physical, non-physical. It could just be a message, a transmission, a mantra, a book, a teaching, whatever it is. But knowing that this would be the one thing that you leave behind for the next generation of leaders, what would that be?
I would leave a note behind saying that never forget your roots, because once you remember your roots, you remember where you came from and measure everything from that. And I would leave a list of the 51 Shakti Pithas, which I would ask them all to visit. And then I would leave the rest to her, that when they visit those Shakti Pithas, their consciousness would just evolve. And that will be my legacy for people. I'm a Ketu ruled person. Ketu is the south node, and it's all about roots. So I would say always remember where you came from, measure your success from there, never forget your roots, and go back to the divine feminine consciousness through the Shakti Pithas, the 51 temples of the Devi.
Where would you recommend people to go to find out more about those 51 Shakti Divas?
There's a list on Google, and the first one I would ask people to go to is Ma Kamakhya in Guwahati, in Assam, in India. And that is where it all started from. And so when Shakti, was Shiva's wife, died, she consumed herself in a fire. Her body was divided into pieces, and each piece fell in a different land. And from there rose a temple, which we call the Shakti Pitha. Pitha being the seat of the Devi, and Shakti being, of course, the divine consciousness. So when you go there, Emilio, the energy that is there on that land literally goes through all your chakras and comes out. You are not the same person. So you're just going there is enough to transform you. And there are 51 of them. And there's a beautiful movie in a South Indian language that describes the journey of a family to these Shakti Pithas. So I would leave that for them and say, here you go, and just go and experience that.
We're going to have to run a retreat there.
Yeah. Not
together. Let's go. Dr. Manmit, thank you so much for really bringing your lineage and the wisdom that you've gathered in this lifetime and many others to this space. I feel like it's very special, the moment we get to weave, especially intergenerationally. And I just wanted to honor you for the work that you do. And I'm excited to continue weaving together and learning more about the downloads and the visions that you're receiving that are helping humanity move forward in our conscious ascension process. So thank you again. And I look forward to doing this again many more times.
Thank you, Emilio. And I must say that this has been a very, very special podcast, very close to my heart. God bless you at the age that you've started this work. God really, really, really bless you. May you have and reach many, many more millions and millions of people. God bless you, and God bless the space you've created.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.